I'm so excited to share Lisanne Godnick with you. She is a psychologist and therapist, and she focuses on individuals and couples and helping them restore their confidence and move through their relationships gracefully, not only in relationship, but individuals in relationship with themselves, how to heal and how to move through their life with ease. And something that I really love about this podcast episode is that Lisanne speaks from her heart. She shares her story around gaining weight and losing weight, and that being a cycle, and what her relationship was like to her body, to that internal voice, and that constant back and forth and push and pull, and what that journey was like. I think that's going to awaken a lot for so many of you. She also talks about her divorce and how that impacted her life and how it impacts her own leadership and how she mentors and leads couples into their own form of healing. So I'm really looking forward to you hearing this podcast, and be sure to listen to the end, share a review, share it with the people that you love and the people that you might think would benefit from this message. I appreciate you. Let's get started. I would love for you to share what it means, what body intelligence means, and how you've been in relationship with that and how it's really led you to where you are right now. And please begin with your experience with this.
So, body experience. I've been a psychotherapist in Manhattan for 40 years. And for me, the part of my body, the two parts of my body that actually have always been the key has been my brain and my heart, and three ears and my ears.
Okay.
But when I met with you and spoke with you, and this time too, and you had me basically put my hand on my heart and hit my hand on my stomach and close my eyes.
Right.
What became really clear to me, and I was surprised actually that this did happen, is that the noise quieted. And that I began to sort of sit with things and feel things the way they were right here and right now. And if it was uncomfortable, it was uncomfortable. If it was comfortable, it was comfortable. But that I didn't have to use my thoughts to move away from what I was feeling physically.
Wow, that happened so quickly. I mean, before we got on this, before we hit record, we did a little body set moment, and you got there in that short amount of time.
I did.
That's incredible. How? What do you think was going on for you?
I'm
just going to say, for those that are listening, the body set position is hand on your heart, hand on your stomach. You close your eyes. It's really a quieting of the mind, of the body, to really set yourself up to hear the wisdom from within. So that's what we're talking about. Okay. So go ahead.
But along those lines, I practice yoga and I practice meditation.
Right.
And I don't usually have the same quiet experience that I did this time with you and the first time I spoke with you.
Right.
And I think that speaks to the relationship.
Okay.
And as a therapist, pretty much everything I do speaks to the relationship, whether it be one's relationship to oneself,
right,
or one's relationship to the other.
Right.
That I think it has to do with connection
Yeah.
and dating.
Do you think it has to do with trust?
I think trust is an enormous component of connection. And I think trust is much harder for certain people than other people's based on a host of reasons, in large part their history and what they've been through in the relationships and the connections that they've had. And that's one of the things I focus primarily on, is trying to find a way to not have your past. Your past will inform your current state, but it doesn't have to dictate your current state.
Right. Well, that's part of what this work is all about. That body intelligence partly comes from our experiences growing up and hearing the wisdom and the lessons we're meant to learn. And the body intelligence, for me, I see it as an entity that was within us when we were in the womb. It's there, it's spiritual, it's source, it's God, it's whatever people want to call it. So it's this combination of intelligence that collects through time. So yeah, I agree with you. We're not our past. It can inform us of who we are. So how do we listen to it with trust, without feeling like we're that? Because if we're dealing with trauma, we don't want to attach to our trauma and say, "Oh, that's who I am." Instead, find the nuggets of intelligence within the experience. So how do you do that?
And we don't want to pretend there wasn't trauma. What we want to
Right.
do is find a balance somewhere in the
Right.
middle.
Yeah.
Because I believe that when we try to move away from things constantly, we just push them down, and push them down,
Right.
and they come up in a host of different ways rather
Right.
than saying, this happened, all of it,
Right.
and it doesn't have to be happening now.
Right.
And I didn't cause it to happen.
Right.
And when you incorporate that concept into things, I didn't cause the other person's issues,
Right.
and trauma that was imposed upon you. It's extremely liberating because
Right.
you get to say, wow, I don't have to be on that leash forever.
Right, exactly. How do you help people have a relationship with their past without reliving their past?
One of the things that I do is I have an intense experience with my patient
Mhm.
about their past.
Mhm.
Doesn't mean that we spend every session talking about a mother and a father. Absolutely not, because I believe that the most important thing is the here and now.
Right.
But we have to understand where we came from in order to understand where we're going, and in order to go to a new place.
Right.
We want to change the address. We don't want to go back home all the time. Even if
Mhm.
there were lovely things about home, we want to build a new home. So
Mhm.
we do so by understanding the feelings, by talking about the pain, by talking about the love, by talking about the fear, by recognizing that one of the ways we stay connected to our past, because we don't want to let it go, because it was such a huge part of us, is by repeating the same behavior in our current relationships. It
Mhm.
keeps us connected to the trauma and the past. And it's like being in quicksand. You're not moving at all. There's no
Right.
movement. So it has to also do with a grieving and a giving up and a
Mhm.
mourning and a saying, there were things I loved about you, but goodbye, because it's too painful to stay there.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, yeah. So in order to get out of the pattern, we have to recognize the pattern and the root of it to create a new pathway home, which I really love how you said, changing the address. For me, when I heard you say that, I'm thinking about, to me, the new address, it's not a new address, it's an old address. It's the address of you, of your soul. It's
The
coming home.
original address,
Right. Right.
the
Of you.
original
Right, exactly.
blueprint before anybody came in and did any
I
renovations.
started messing it up and
Right.
started taking you
Right.
out.
Right.
There's a lot around, owning that too, the being taken out, like that, not blaming someone for it, but instead, this was meant for me for whatever reason to learn whatever it is I'm meant to learn. Do you agree with that?
I 100%, and I believe that just like staying attached to the trauma keeps us connected to our past,
Right.
blaming is a
Yeah.
huge way of staying connected.
Right.
You're not giving up the fight.
Right.
So there's no movement forward as long as you're constantly taking steps backwards, and blaming is about backwards movement.
Yeah, yeah. I love this whole concept of really identifying the why, like why we stay in those same patterns, why we relive and and so now I'm like, okay, so how do we let go and be in relationship in a different way, in an empowered way? So do you take your clients through any kind of exploration or discovery around who they are so they
Well,
can return to this beautiful person that they are?
first of all, it's not only a return, but it's a rediscovery, because
Yeah.
most of us don't even know it was there,
Right, right.
you know?
Yeah.
Um, and a lot of the work that I work often with individuals, but I also work a lot with couples. And I've kind of
Mm.
created this program called Divorce Recovery,
Mm.
where it kind of starts in couples therapy. Sadly, 70% of couples that start couples therapy don't stay together because they come too late.
Mm.
And then what ends up happening eventually, no, some couples therapy does work, and a large part of what makes some couples therapy work is forgiveness and acceptance.
Mm.
But you have to be very careful about what you choose to forgive and what you choose to accept.
Mm-hmm.
And your contribution to the conflict, right?
Right.
If you are going in the other direction, the majority, ending a relationship, the next step, and that's a long process, that's deciding to leave something. If you have children, it has another dimension. Ideas, dreams, it's a huge letting go. It's a death of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost more complicated than a death because it's a death that involves choice,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Well, for one person, or maybe both.
But it's a choice. It's not something that, yes, absolutely.
Because one person might not want to be choosing to leave.
Absolutely. But that lack of being the person that is not the chooser is in just as much pain because they're the victim of the action, So it's kind of reciprocal like that. Right. In any event, it takes a long time to go through it. There's legal stuff, there's financial stuff, there's anger, there's resentment, there's shock, there's staying in the relationship with the person because you share children with them or a dog with them or a home with them, certainly a history. And then slowly over time, it kind of transitions into helping them recognize their own voice, lowering the old volume, raising the new volume, and changing the narrative and exploring at an older age in life what it's like to get to know somebody. And it's pretty miraculous to watch if you let it.
Yeah. It's really interesting. I gravitate to when you say, unfortunately, 70% doesn't work out. And it's just the conditioning of our world. For me, I hear it so differently. I'm like, it always works out no matter what. 100% of the time, it works out because it's supposed to be this. Now, that is tough to hear because, I'm someone who left a marriage of 20 years and people would say, "I'm so sorry it didn't work out." And I'm like, "Why are you there's a lot of pain, and I'm not taking any of that away from me or him because we both experience a lot. But it worked out. It worked exactly out because I know that we're not meant to be together for this chapter in our life, as painful as it is for both of us for different reasons. It's not meant for us. So that is our destiny. That is what is supposed, because I think the reframe into that understanding is really critical for people. Otherwise, so many feel like
I fully agree. I fully agree with you.
Yeah.
I think that one of the things that happens as a therapist or the kind of therapist that I am is that people come into therapy most of the time, at least consciously wanting it to work. So I say, right. Unfortunately, because I get it. I have that sense of empathy for the person or the person who's listening right now saying, oh God, it's not going to work out. And that's really where that comes from. I agree 100% that if you allow it to happen, that you will end up exactly where you should be because you'll build that and you'll get there. I agree 100%. But I also think a lot has to go on first.
Yeah, exactly. So many things. So what was your journey around, your connection to body intelligence? And have you allowed that intelligence within you, that voice, that intuition, that somatic knowing? Have you allowed that to be a part of your life, or is that a newer concept for you?
It's a newer concept for me for two reasons. It's a newer concept because I wasn't trained that way as a therapist.
Right. Yeah.
But so much work is being done in that area now, and it is so helpful with trauma, that to not acknowledge it and not to learn it and not to know it, it's why I have that moment with you that takes 30 seconds and all of a sudden I can feel different.
Yeah.
The other reason, and I'll share, something personal, and that is that I've lost 100 pounds in the past, let's call it 3 years. And I mean, I've lost 50 pounds. My joke is I've lost 50 pounds 50 times in my lifetime. But this time I lost 100 pounds and I've kept it off. Primarily, it's the weight loss journey started for health reasons. But one of the things that I've realized is that on the one hand, your problems still exist because your internal skeleton, you don't lose. But all of that weight covered up so much emotion and covered up so much access to how you really feel, to your soul, to inside of yourself.
When did you have that awareness?
Not one day. It's been a process.
Is that when you were in it? Were you like, no, right?
No, not at all. It would be when somebody would see me for the first time and say, oh my God. Or when I would put on a pair of pants that I never thought I could put on. Or when I would dance and I would feel my body being able to move in different ways. Or when I would do yoga and I would be able to, clasp my hands in ways that I couldn't because I couldn't get to that space.
Right.
And I realized that on some level, metaphorically, so much more was available to me.
Can you go back? Do you mind? Because you opened this up. So I'd love for the listeners, I think this is really important and such a beautiful, vulnerable moment and a lot of lessons that we can learn, all of us. Can you talk to us about like when that happened, the weight, when it was on, and that relationship? Were you just so disconnected from your body and that
No, I was not disconnected from my body. I was connected to my body, and I was connected to what was covering my body up. Let me
right. I mean the internal. Okay, so there's two. That's important.
Yes,
You're talking about
100%.
the physical. You were connected to that weight that was covering up.
Exactly. 100%.
So interesting. It's like a protection.
It full armor. And I will also say that the main thing that really came along with it when I was so unhealthy physically was shame. Because weight is the one thing that you can't hide. Right? You can have a bunch of problems going on and people don't see it on the outside, but they see you getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm speaking primarily about health right now, not about the way one looks, but the way one feels. And the shame was the thing that was the largest that became the smallest over time. And that's the work.
Right. That's the work, which I want to get to that work in a second. So you had this connection to the body, the physical body as the protector covering you up. What was going on inside your body? And were you connected to a voice? Was there a voice within you that was like, we have to change this, or we're not happy, or like, was there any inner dialogue going on?
Tons of inner dialogue. And it was primarily, what's wrong with me and why can't I do this?
Right.
I help people.
So that's why the shame came.
That's more, and the judgment and the criticism. Here I am helping people all day long for all these years with all their issues, and I can't get this taken care of.
Right. Interesting.
And that was the main sentence that played over and over and over again. And you don't have to keep that exclusive to physicality. You can keep that, think about that in terms of relationships. Why can't I move from this?
Right, exactly.
What's the glue? Why am I staying connected to this extremely destructive position?
What would you say about this? So oftentimes with my clients and myself, because I've practiced this, I've definitely released this now for sure. people I find chase the why. Why am I this? Why am I da da da? Why? And when we chase the why, we are shaming ourselves. We are judging ourselves. We are being so critical. When I let go of chasing the why, when I got so empowered in my body to say, I do not need to explain anything. I am who I am because I am, because I am. It was the most liberating transformation, and it's really an incredible feeling. And I wonder, do you think that chase of trying to answer that question deepened your shame?
Yes. And by the way, I want to tell you that I love that expression, chase the why.
Oh,
Because
thanks.
even though as a therapist, so much of the work is about understanding,
Yeah.
it's also about accepting,
Letting go.
forgiving, and letting go.
Surrender. Yeah.
Letting
We
go of
don't
this.
need to know why. We don't need to
And,
know why.
and the why is often about self-blame. You know,
Exactly.
that's where the road takes you back to. So
Right.
I do believe it's very, I mean, I have to be very clear here. I
Yeah.
do believe it's very important
Yes.
to understand our history and understand
Absolutely.
how it plays out in the day to
Right.
day.
Right.
But at a certain point, if you're
Right.
chasing that and chasing that, that's just like staying connected to the past.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and I do want to um make sure that I'm clear on that as well, because I do it's the chase has to stop when it involves criticizing ourselves and judging ourselves. Understanding our history is so important and can be very valuable, but it's about how we're engaging with this information. So then take us to what happened. So then all of us, so you've got this shame, you're carrying this stuff. What was the tipping point? Like what made you, what was that transition like for you to switch over? How'd that happen?
Yeah, very honestly, because I can't do it any other way.
No, honesty is what we want. Yeah.
I got a bunch of really, really, really concerning blood results back.
Yeah.
And I got put on a medication that, you know, everybody's talking about nowadays, but I went on it kind of before it became popular,
Right. Right.
actually, for health reasons.
Yeah.
And one of the amazing things about these GLP-1s is that it really, when you say stop chasing the why on some level, that medication allows you to quiet the noise.
Mm.
It really does. There is a
Yeah.
psychological, physiological component to the
Mhm.
fact that the food noise stops.
Mhm. Mm.
And, and that doesn't always feel terrific because
Right.
silence can be a little scary. It's
Right.
unfamiliar. You're learning a whole new dance, a whole new way
Mm.
of being. And
Yeah.
that's what happened.
Right.
And it's a journey. I mean, it's still happening.
Right.
I think it's a lifelong journey. Um,
Mhm.
but I can tell you that the more you chip away at the shame and the more you chip away at the judgment and the more you chip away at the chasing and the chasing and the chasing, the more doors open for you.
Mm. Mhm. Yeah. Beautiful. So the medication helped you stop with the craving necessarily, right? The like constant going after. And then how did you work on the internal connection? How did you heal the relationship with yourself? And I'm sure it's an ongoing. We're always ongoing. But how did that, what did you do to kind of like get back to loving or liking yourself again?
Yeah, you know
Yeah.
what? It's not even for me, it wasn't even getting back because I was so covered up with it for so long
Yeah.
that it was almost like I forgot it existed. Like,
Mm.
I wasn't born obese, you know what I'm saying?
Right,
So
right,
I
right.
forgot that at one point there was this beautiful baby
Mm.
and the baby that hadn't, you know, hurt themselves at that point.
Yeah.
And it's a process. It's just a deeply internal process
Mhm.
where you allow yourself to say things things can change, things can
Mhm.
shift,
Mhm.
and I can do this now.
Mhm. Mhm. When did you start your practice
My practice, my
as a
psychotherapy.
therapist? Yeah.
37 years ago.
So, where were you along this journey of, letting go of the weight, really on your road to recovery,
Oh,
reconnection?
no, no, no. As I said, I've lost 50 pounds 50 times. So I was always up and down and up and down,
Okay.
up and down and up and down as I was working and as I was working and as I was.
Right. Yeah.
And there
Yeah.
was a lot of, by the way, there was a lot of shame
Yeah.
in being a therapist that clearly was being self-destructive, just like there
Right.
was a lot of shame in being a couples therapist who got divorced.
Right. Exactly.
You know, it's hard to not, you know, you have to
I'm
quiet
curious about that. How
it.
were you transparent with your clients? Like, hey, listen, I'm here counseling you as your therapist, and I've gotten divorced and I want you to know, or I'm battling this weight thing, or like, were you transparent about your
I
own
was
process?
much more transparent about my divorce than I was about my weight, because
Mhm.
I didn't really have to be transparent about my weight. That was an obvious.
Right. Right.
My divorce, well, it's actually very interesting. And I really want to say this to everybody. The most important thing about a therapeutic relationship is chemistry.
Mhm.
I'm not for everybody. I am transparent. I'm not transparent in that I don't go to my patients for them to help me, but I
Mhm.
am transparent in ways that some people are not, about sharing aspects of my life, because
Mhm.
my feeling is, how can you really feel safe putting yourself in my hands when I'm not putting myself in yours in some way?
Right. Mhm. I love that.
You know, that's just
I
sort
think
of.
that's so beautiful. Listen, I think that's a very strong way to lead, with vulnerability, sharing your story, being open. Because if we want to help people and heal people and empower people, they need to be able to see themselves inside of you or other people's stories. So how are they going to do that unless we're being honest?
So actually, what actually happened a few times, and then it kind of just evolved, is I still do occasionally, um, go to soul cycle classes.
Mhm.
And you know, I knew the people that originally owned it, and I was in the first soul cycle class ever. And so when I was going through my divorce, the teachers, wonderful, empathic, lovely people, would say, "You can do it, Lisanne. You know, you can do it. You can get to the other side." And you know, I'd come in weeping and thinking I couldn't, and not recognizing that I had patience in the class.
Wow.
So they would
Oh
come
my
to session
god.
and they would say, "Well, why are they saying you can do it? What is it that you're doing?"
Oh,
And that's when I recognized I have to open up about this.
yeah.
And I have to forgive myself for it, you know?
Yeah.
That's how I can open up about it.
How'd you do that?
How did I do that? I wish I had a really quick, easy answer. By you want to know how I did it? By
Yeah.
practice, by repetition, by doing
Mm.
it over and over and over and over again.
Like doing what? What would you do?
Share my story.
Mm.
Say, when somebody, I get a lot of referrals from divorce attorneys and
Right.
patients, and they would come in and they would
Mm.
say, "You don't know what it's like. You don't know what it's like." And I would say, "Stop. I need to let you know that I do know what it's like. I don't know
Right.
what your situation is,
Right, exactly.
but I had a situation. I have a situation."
Right.
And on some level, I kind of look at it in this, I don't mean to sound like Pollyanna, but it was like I made lemonade out of lemons. I said,
Right.
let me try to take one of the most painful things that I've ever gone through, and and turn it into something that can benefit me and others, and start new journeys for
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. I love all of that. And you said, it was a long journey to forgiveness. So I was curious about how you forgave yourself.
How
Was it
I'm
in the How did you forgive yourself? How did you release and let go, and was it in the sharing of your story? Was it being transparent about your story?
I don't think it's ever completely done.
Mm.
I think that,
Mhm.
um, but I think for some people it is. For me,
Mhm.
it's a process. It's an awareness.
Mhm.
It's front of mind. But the main way that I began to forgive myself is to recognize that nobody's perfect,
Right.
and that we have this idea about this blueprint about the way our
Mm.
life is supposed to look.
Yeah.
And that doesn't have to be the case. We can
Right.
change the blueprint, even if we don't want to change the blueprint and
Right.
we're handed a new blueprint.
Right.
We, you know, we can change it. There's pain whether you're the lever or whether you're the levee.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's pain. There's pain
Right.
either way. There's
Right.
certainly pain either way. And
Hmm.
it had to do with recognizing that I didn't have to be a certain way in order to be good with myself.
Right. Do you find that what you've experienced in your life with both of these stories that you've shared, and I know there's others, other stories within you, do you think it's informed how you lead your life now?
100%.
Can you give me an example?
I can give you an example in terms of food and in terms of my relationship that I'm in now.
Mhm.
And in my relationship with other people as well, not
Yeah.
just a significant other. And that is
Right.
that you feel sort of those, I call them my antique feelings, the old
Mm.
feelings, the used
I
feelings.
love that.
And you say, gosh, I can't believe you're still there. Like you were supposed to not be there anymore. That went away. And then you say, wait. Okay, there's room for you, but there's like a little storage closet for you. You no longer get to take up the majority of the
Mm.
storage. You get to take up a
Mhm.
little space, and
Mm.
I'm gonna put you away, and I'm gonna respect you, but I'm not going to let you dictate what happens to me next in my life. And I'm going to
Right.
recognize that everybody's different, and I'm
Yeah.
going to recognize that I can survive,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
why taking a risk and a chance and starting over is so important.
Yeah. I love that. You've, like, clearly developed such resiliency because of the experiences that you've had,
Yeah.
which is
Yes.
so, so beautiful. I love all of this. I mean, I am so grateful for your vulnerability, truly, in sharing both of those stories because, again, that's how we help people see themselves and give them hope. And I really, really appreciate that. And so my last kind of question is around just your work and where people can find you, but more than that, what's your philosophy around your approach to therapy and how you work with your clients? Like, what would you say are your core principles, and were they developed as a result of your life story and all that you've learned?
Absolutely developed from my life story,
Mhm.
from my relationships, from my connections to other people.
Yeah.
Now, mostly my connection to myself, which
Mm.
is the newest part of my journey.
Beautiful.
Kind of like where you come in,
Yeah.
uh, for me, seriously.
Yeah.
But I was going to say I had one thing to add, and I realized that the one thing I had to add actually answers your question about my
Mhm.
principles, and that is that much of the time when somebody leaves a first or second session, I
Mm.
always compare a session to a first date. Like you kind of know if you want
Right.
to kiss somebody after a first date. The
Right.
chemistry,
Right.
sometimes 2 dates, right?
Yeah.
And I will say to the person when they're leaving my office, I can't make you any big grandiose promises right now. I'm not going to make any major statements about your life because
Right.
I don't know much about you, but I can guarantee you, you do not and will not always have to feel this way. You
Mm.
will feel better. If you do the
Mm.
work, you
Mm.
can feel better.
Mm.
And that's my core principle
Yeah.
of work is that you don't have to stay stuck in the pain.
Mm.
And at the same time, you don't have to run away from it. And you can tolerate learning to live with discomfort.
Mm.
Because much of the time when we try to get rid of discomfort, we do so in self destructive ways.
Yeah. Yeah. And it continues to show up because we're not listening
Exactly.
to that wisdom, to listening to what it has to say. I know we talked about this briefly, but definitely the IFS parts work have influenced my work. And I believe very deeply that we have different parts that are associated to different aspects of our life, to different memories and experiences. And when we can really look at them, try to look at them objectively with compassion, at least, and
IFS
curiosity.
I believe deeply in
Yeah.
IFS parts work, and compassion is a huge piece. I
Huge.
will often say to a patient, let's talk to the little girl or little boy version of you right
Right,
now.
exactly,
But
of course.
they really are, they're in there, and they
Yeah,
deserve to be heard
that's
in a
right.
way that I don't think they ever were heard before.
Yeah, exactly. And so many people that are not, you know, not connected or familiar with IFS work. It's internal family parts work, and it's internal family systems, and it's really identifying these different parts of us and honoring them, and looking at that little girl, looking at that little boy, and really giving them a voice. And so it's really beautiful, and I understand that people that are not connected to this work are like, what the hell are you talking about? Parts work, boys, da da da. But it's real. So if you are listening and there's any part of you that's like, what is that? Lean in. DM, email me. I have a ton of resources to share, because it's really, really important that we pick those parts, like separate them, isolate them, so we remember that we're not all one thing. Like you said, or
We're not
we're
all
many things.
thing, and we don't if we get to know those inner pieces of ourselves,
Yeah,
we have much more control over what leads us and
right,
what informs us and what
right,
we don't want to repeat anymore.
right. I love
That
that.
takes really hard work. It's like
Yeah,
going to the emotional gym,
yeah,
that
exactly.
your heart and soul is a muscle, as is
You're
your
right,
mind, and
right.
that's what it's like.
Yeah, exactly, and so worth it. Tell us where people can find you, how people can connect with you,
Well, you
please.
can find me. My phone number. I'm not going to give my office
I
number.
wouldn't give your phone number here, yeah.
You wouldn't give my cell number here.
No.
Okay. You can find me under Lisanne Godnick. It is on the internet. You can Google me, and you'll find me in Psychology Today. And you can leave me an email, or my phone number is on Psychology Today, and you can reach out that way, and I will get back to you. I'm a fast responder, so I will get back to you within 24 hours and take it from there.
Beautiful. I love it. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I really appreciate you. I appreciate your stories and all the wisdom that you shared with us. And thank you to everybody listening to the Wisdom from Within podcast, where human stories awaken leadership from within. I am so grateful for this platform. I'm so grateful for this movement, and I can't wait to see you all next week. Okay. Take care.
Thank you so much.
If something in this conversation spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself. Send it to someone who might need that message too. You can also send me a comment, because I would love to know what it is that landed for you. But most importantly, take a moment to pause and listen to what it is that resonated, because that's where your real guidance system lives. The one you can trust, the one you can rely on. See you next week.